Hi, everyone. It's me, Hunter. I've got a little something different planned for you today. Um, about a week or two ago, someone in the Cultaholic Discord community by the name of Larry Raab decided to gift me his episode of Desert Island Graps. That was a part of his Patreon perks for the tier he selected. He gave it to me as an early birthday gift, early 30th birthday gift, and surprised me with it about a week or so ago. What you are about to see is the complete interview that I was fortunate enough to do with Tom Campbell of Cultaholic. Um, it's a great, great, I guess you could call it a glimpse into my mind and my life and my love in wrestling. And I hope you guys enjoy it.
Welcome back to Cultaholic Island. This is where we ask the great and the good in and around the wrestling world to stop by, say hi, and tell us 3 matches that they would watch whilst metaphorically stranded on a desert island. Not only are we blessed to be supporting one of the greatest fandoms ever, apart from the weird ones, we are here with some of the great ones, including people from the Cultaholic wrestling community who go above and beyond and support the greater good that is Cultaholic wrestling. And I'm joined by one of those now. He's a YouTuber. He is a game show fanatic, and I am desperate to get into all of it now. We're joined by Hunter Dillon. Hunter, how you doing?
Hi, Tom. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here.
It is an honor and a privilege to have you with us today. Now, I'm keen to know, behind you, you have a signed shirt.
Yes.
And forgive my ignorance in sport. If it's not Charlton Athletic, I'm not quite sure. So who do we have hanging up behind you, Hunter?
So I am friends with a promotion, with the roster of a promotion in Colorado by the name of Rocky Mountain Pro.
Nice. It's a Rocky Mountain Pro shirt.
This shirt was signed by the entire roster, well, most of the entire roster, and by a few of the backstage crew and folks who I've known to become friends for almost 5 years now. Marty Casaus, who you may remember from AEW and Lucha Underground, he signed the shirt for me. Christy Janes, Mercury Matt Yaden, who used to work in TNA, he's on that shirt, and a lot of other folks. I've got a few of my good friends here. Oren Veit, who is a deathmatch king. They call him the deathmatch king. Danger Dean, who now works in radio. A lot of my other friends here, I know you don't know them because obviously it's an independent promotion and all that.
I know of Damon Ace. I don't know whether he's on there.
Yes, he is. He's right there. I don't know if you can see it because my ring light is just so bright. I got to wear shades.
No, I know D'Lo Brown does some stuff,
yes,
or at least has done some stuff at Rocky Mountain.
Yes, and he still does right now. He's currently in an angle with Remy D and Mercury Yaten right now. He signed the shirt. Remy D signed it. I've even got a few of my friends from their sort of recap show, Dudes and Belts, giving a quick shout out to them. I've got Johnny Deathdrop. I can't get the thing there. It's so big. Johnny Deathdrop there, and the dudes, Maki Pens, Mark Ritchie, who's a really good friend of mine, Sunday Night Savior, Triple I's Coastal Crusader. They're all really good friends of mine, and they have really bent over backwards to make me feel like I'm one of their own, even though I'm not even part of their roster.
Oh, mate. But how often do you get to the Rocky Mountain shows then?
I don't. I live in West Virginia, so I have to catch the shows through YouTube and Twitch and all that. But the fact that I met these folks through Twitch, and they welcomed me into their crazy little world with open arms. It's just, it's amazing. I'll have to hang this back up here. Give me 2 seconds here, Tom. Apologies.
What I've done for Hunter in my nosiness, because whenever we do these over Zoom, I always like to have a little quiet nosy around the room of whoever I'm talking to, and inevitably there's something. I know I'm damaging Hunter's room inevitably.
It's okay. It's okay. You just knocked down a piece of decor that I always live by this quote, and you might recognize this. A gentleman you may recognize the name Pat McAfee.
Yeah, I love him. Be a friend. Tell a friend something nice. It might change their life. That's a lovely quote.
That's his go-to. That is his sign-off catchphrase. So I've
It's a
got
gr-
that hanging up there.
it's a great quote. It's a great quote, and and it's the power of friendship is impassioned in that quote there, and I really like it. Anyway, enough on that because we're here to talk about you, Hunter, not Pat McAfee,
Yes.
and we want to talk
Yes.
about the 3 wrestling matches you'd watch whilst metaphorically stranded on a desert island, and we're going to talk about them as we chat today. But let's begin with the first one. What's match number 1 for you, then, Hunter?
It would have to be the Razor Ramon versus Shawn Michaels ladder match at WrestleMania 10.
So this match, front and center, the first one you think of. Why is this one on your top 3?
Well, this match was nearly 20 minutes of storytelling at its finest. And this will go down not only as one of my favorite matches of all time, but without a doubt, my favorite Razor Ramon Scott Hall match. God rest his soul. It's a shame how, how his life just took a dark turn and then he passed away unexpectedly. The story of how Shawn and Razor were both fighting for the right to be called the undisputed. You can tell I'm a little nervous here. I'm talking to Tom Campbell. Anybody would get nervous here.
Oh, mate, take a bit. You're undisputed. It's a difficult word to get your teeth around. I get that.
They were both fighting for the right to be called the undisputed Intercontinental Champion leading up to that match. It was nothing short of intriguing for me. All the various spots in that match, and the one that I remember the most was the attempted Razor's Edge on the exposed concrete that I believe got reversed. If my memory serves me right, I've watched it enough times.
Yeah, that's the one.
And to me, this match was a turning point for the WWE. Now, remember, I was a WCW kid. I didn't tell you I was a WCW kid, but I was a WCW kid before I got into WWE. And I watched this match many, many years after this happened. But to me, this match was a turning point for what was then WWF. The Attitude Era would not be for another, 3-4 years after this.
So WrestleMania 10 was 94. Yeah, you're still like a good 3 years off the Attitude Era.
But with this being the first ladder match on an actual WWF pay-per-view, this, in my opinion, was the catalyst for the Attitude Era. And that's why it's one of my favorite matches, because it kind of gave you a bit of a glimpse of what was to come in the coming years as WWE, WWF got more edgier, more risque, more groundbreaking in their product. And that's why it's one of my favorite matches. It's an all-time classic, and it's one of those that you could put on loop, or I could put on loop, and I wouldn't get tired of watching it.
So where were you when you watched it for the first time?
I think I was watching it on a Discord call with some of my friends. This was during the pandemic era. This was around 2020, 2021. And we were having like a big old like watch along of different like pay-per-views and classic pay-per-views and stuff. And WrestleMania 10 was one of those that we watched. And that match, like, it kind of struck a chord with me. Like the way everything was put together, the way it all, unfolded right before our eyes. Like I said, it was nearly 20 minutes. And we're later on in the show, like we talk about storytelling in wrestling. And this is a prime example of what storytelling can be. And, the first time I watched this, I'm like, this is prime storytelling. I like it. And, I went down the rabbit hole of like all the different Razor Ramon and matches and Scott Hall matches over the years. And it's a shame he died or how he died, but he will forever be one of my favorite wrestlers. And this, without a doubt, will be one of my favorite matches of all time.
So wind it back for us then, Hunter. When did you become a wrestling fan in the first place?
I want to say it was around 1996, 97, 98, somewhere in there. I was about 2 or 3 years old. I was a WCW fan at the outset. Obviously, this was right around the tail end of WCW's run, just before they had that quite nasty makeover, changeover, however you want to call
Where
it.
the WCW logo just became
Yeah,
those
that
weird that's a
that
horrible logo.
that one. Yeah,
Horrible.
yeah, that one. But like ever since then, I got my first exposure to WWE incidentally around I was at a friend's house around maybe 99 2000 somewhere in there, and someone was watching like a broadcast of Monday Night Raw, and like I could sense something in this company that the other company did not. Obviously, I was too young to know about the finger poke of doom. It wouldn't be for another like 15, 20 years before I found that disaster out. We don't talk about that. And that
Yeah, go on.
and that whole David Arquette fiasco. Thank God he's done better for himself now in the wrestling business. But
Yeah, he did
when he
good.
became world heavyweight champion, I was like, no, I don't like celebrities wrestling. That has been a big pet peeve of mine in wrestling. But
Oh, okay.
but
I get that. I get that.
yeah. And then the ruthless aggression era came along, kind of took a break for a few years, kind of, took a break from wrestling, came back in 2009, 2010. Um, and then that went on for like another 9, 10 years of me watching wrestling. And then the Hell in a Cell match I think it was Crown. I know it was The Fiend versus Seth Rollins. I think it was I think it was one of the Saudi Arabia events. And the outcome of that match, I'm like, nope, I am not watching this product anymore. Thank God AEW had started around that time. But obviously things have turned around for WWE, and to me, a little bit worse for AEW nowadays. So, my how the turns have tabled.
It's an interesting one just to go back to it because obviously you're a WCW kid, and myself and Sam Driver we do a podcast now where we're watching every episode of Nitro from the beginning, and it's one of those shows where historically there are iconic moments, and it really forced the arm of the World Wrestling Federation to change, and it led to the rejuvenation of the industry. Like they had to suck so the other one could run, but I can't week to week. I struggle to watch it because it feels like not a lot happens week to week. You have these iconic moments throughout, but I'm excited. Genuinely, we mentioned it there, the crap logo era. I'm actually quite excited for that because I feel like every week something awful happens, as opposed to 97 where nothing really happens week to week. But once you get to 99, there's awful booking like every hour, so you're never hungry for something dreadful to watch.
Exactly. 3 words, Tom. Blame Vince Russo.
Oh, he took a lot of that. But the thing is, there's a few of those blunders in that time that, as much as we'd love to blame Russo, go actually you weren't there for that. Other stuff, yeah, bang to rights. But there's a lot of things in there that you are. Out of interest, because I like yourself, I had that sort of break from wrestling, and it was the video game Warzone that brought me back in '99. What was it that brought you back into wrestling? Did you say?
I don't know. It was kind of a combination of seeing how the landscape has changed, because at the time I had come back, I think it was around the time that they were going to PG-13 from like a MA rated show. And it was that, and okay, what has changed? What has stayed the same? What has gone on? I'm curious to see what's gone on in my absence, in the time I've been away from wrestling. So I decided, let's have a look. And this was, I want to say it was around the time of the bragging rights. I was either the bragging rights or the Breaking Point pay-per-view in 2009 or 10. And started watching Friday Night SmackDown around that time, because the only show I had watched up to that point, as far as WWE was concerned, was Monday Night Raw. I had started watching Friday Night SmackDown. At the time, it was airing on My Network TV, and I had to put tin foil on my antenna because we didn't have My Network TV on my local, on my satellite provider, so I had to use because the signal for the station was so crappy. I could not get a decent signal even if I tried. So trying to get a decent signal to watch SmackDown, because I vaguely remember it was Friday night. I would usually watch Oprah, and then after Oprah, SmackDown came on. Imagine that. Oprah Winfrey and like
She's
Undertaker and all that.
the ultimate lead-in, Oprah Winfrey.
Right?
But you know what? People of a certain generation will never truly appreciate the frustration of trying to watch something with a bad TV reception, because everything's streamed now. You get a bit of buffering sometimes, but you don't get the thing where like you have to, waggle the cable at the back. You have to move the antenna at the top. You don't get that anymore. Like that bit of tech
Yeah.
is long, and I long sometimes for just old bits of tech like that.
Yeah, this generation will never understand the frustration of wanting to pull your hair out just to watch a wrestling match or like a movie or something. They have it easy.
They don't know how good they've got it, Hunter.
Exactly.
How good they've got it. Furious about it. Hey, let's do your second match, Hunter. So we started off big. Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon, ladder match from WrestleMania. What's your second one going to be, sir?
Okay, this is a little bit of an unconventional one. This was one of the very first Dynamites. SCU versus the Lucha Brothers for the right to be crowned the very first tag team champions.
Okay, so this one, I don't think anyone has picked this one, but this is obviously one that has some special significance to you.
It does. It does hold a special place in my heart, and I'll tell you why. This match and the show itself took place in my home state. AEW crowned their first ever tag team champions right here in the mountain state of West Virginia. Like, I'll tell you, this was a great match from the early days of AEW. It was a fast-paced and high-flying technical clinic. Penta and Ray Phoenix, I got to tell you, they put on a great showing, and it looked like a couple of times as though they were going to pull it off. Like there were a couple of times where they could have done it, but you got to hand it to Frankie Kazarian and Scorpio Sky, because they fought back, capitalized on some of the errors that the Lucha Brothers made, and right there, that fateful Wednesday night, October 30th, 2019, the Charleston Civic Center, they became the first ever tag team champions.
And it feels there's something special about that happening on your doorstep, isn't there, as well?
It is. Like, how many people can say that the crowning of an inaugural champion of a wrestling organization happened in their own home state, let alone their own home city? Not very many, I can tell you.
You as a West Virginia boy,
Yes.
nearly turning 30. Did you do all your growing up in West Virginia?
Yes, I was born and raised in West Virginia. I am proud to be a mountaineer. There are some times where I wish that there are some days where I wish I was somewhere else, because West Virginia does have a few cons, but the pros more than outweigh the cons, because the scenery is beautiful. The sights and the sounds of the outdoors are breathtaking. And I recall, and again, this was during the straying away a little bit away from wrestling, and I apologize.
No, mate, we can talk about anything you like. We're all good.
This was again kind of during the pandemic era, about 21, 22. Me and my family and my friends and their family, we took a trip to a beautiful place called Hawk Nest State Park. It was the most beautiful, breathtaking place I have ever been. Like, I usually don't like to go outdoors. I'm not an outdoorsy type guy. I don't go fishing. I don't go hunting. I don't do any of that sort of thing that you'd expect a West Virginian or a Southerner like me to do. But going there and just exploring this park, and it is a beautiful place. If you ever come to West Virginia, I highly recommend you take a trip there. Just the sights are breathtaking, and as a matter of fact, I have a soup. I'll have to go over here and grab it. I have a souvenir from Hawk's Nest.
Oh, okay. It's always, I quite like being a tourist in your own town. I like that. There's something quite charming about that. When visitors come to Newcastle, I like to show them round and kind of see it in a new way again. So we've got a
So
Hawkshead
this,
State Park. Is that a car bump? Is that a car license
yeah, that
plate?
is a car license plate sort of thing. This is the view from one of the observation, I guess you could call it
Wow,
observation deck. The site there is gorgeous.
that's amazing.
It is gorgeous. I highly recommend if you ever stop by West Virginia, please stop by Hawks Nest State Park. You will not be disappointed.
What else does West Virginia do really well, Hunter, compared to the rest of the world?
Well, let's see. Hunting and fishing, obviously, at least in my opinion, even
Yeah,
though
it was interesting
I
that you
don't.
said that where you go, I'm not like all other people. I don't go hunting. I don't go fishing. And I just thought, I don't think I know anyone that goes hunting or fishing in my friend circle. But obviously, it's a West Virginia thing.
Yeah, it's a West Virginia thing. It's sort of a Southern thing. We also make some badass pepperoni rolls. As a matter of fact, that is our state delicacy, pepperoni rolls. Like
Oh, okay.
they're like little, I don't know how to describe them. They're like little dinner rolls, and they have like pepperoni and cheese in them, and then they're like absolutely delicious. If I could, I'd live off of them the rest of my life.
I'm gonna look them up now. Oh, okay, I've got them. So pepperoni rolls. Okay, do you know what in terms of like the stuff that they're made out of, are they a bit like sausage rolls? Are they like sausage rolls?
I would say they're a little bit like sausage rolls, except like
Yeah.
except there's pepperoni and cheese in there, and the cheese melts so good. Like
Oh,
you can get them like prepackaged here at like grocery stores and stuff.
I'm
We
just
have
looking at them now, pre-packaged. Like, just
yeah,
have a bag of. I demolished that bag. I'm not even
yeah.
sorry.
Like
Not
even though
even
they're really
sorry.
good, even though the prepackaged versions are really good on their own, you put those bad boys in the oven for like 4 or 5 minutes, and oh my god, you are in heaven.
Should not have done this before dinner. This was a mistake.
I am I'm sorry, Tom.
Yeah, the good lady's not home for another hour and a half. I've got to wait, but it's fine. But I know what I'm going to attempt to make at some point this week is some of those bad boys. If you weren't in West Virginia, you talked about like wanting to, you know, be other places for a while. If you weren't in West Virginia, where would you like to be?
There's a few places I'd love to go. I apologize for taking up so much time. There's a few places.
No,
There's
take your
Boston.
mate. Take your time. You are all good, sir.
So there's Boston, Massachusetts. I have a few friends. Uh, Johnny Death Drop and the crew who I discussed, the Dudes and Belts crew. They actually live in the Boston area. They're candlepin bowlers. I would love to make the trip down there and do some candlepin bowling with them. Wouldn't mind visiting the bar from Cheers too, because that is one of my bucket list places to go before I eventually kick the bucket. Um, I'd love to go to New York. New York is a fabulous place. I'd love to attend a taping of Colbert's Late Show.
Oh, good shout. Yeah.
I would love to visit California and attend a taping of some of my favorite game shows. I would love to attend a taping of Wheel of Fortune. That is one of my favorite game shows. I'd love to attend a taping there. And I would really love to visit Las Vegas. That is one of my prime vacation spots. Although I don't think mom would let me gamble the money because obviously, knowing me and my luck, I'm probably going home without a shirt on. And then, of course, Colorado, visiting the Rocky Mountain Pro Crew and finally getting to meet up with them face to face. That would be an absolute dream.
Oh yeah, with Vegas, I think you've got to go with money that you're happy to lose. Because
Right.
my folks have been a couple of times. They just you don't go unless you've got some money that you're happy to never see again. Because then if
Right.
you don't, then you've made your peace with it. But that's the way you've got to do it. But there's some look like this. You mentioned there visiting and being a part of the audience for Wheel of Fortune because this is something I really want to chat to you about because you are as much as you love wrestling, game shows I know are a massive part of your world. How did you stumble across your passion for game shows to begin with?
Well, I basically started at an early age. I was 2 years old. And one of the first, actually, the very first game show I was exposed to was Wheel of Fortune. And from there, like I like a lot of people learn their ABCs and their one, two, threes and their colors from watching Big Bird and Elmo on Sesame Street. Or in some cases in the UK, I don't know if they do educational stuff, but like Blue Peter over there in the UK.
Yeah, yeah. There's educational programs over here. Yeah,
But I learned my ABCs and my numbers and my colors from watching Pat and Vanna.
I
Like,
get that. I get that. The spinning wheel. I can imagine
yeah,
that to a young pair of eyes, it's probably quite captivating to watch that going around.
yeah. And from there, like it just kind of flourished, and Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy continue to be like they continue to be nighttime staples in my house. I've been like Supermarket Sweep and Hollywood Squares, Pressure Luck, Family Feud, all that stuff. And I've been diving a lot. I've dived a lot into the classic game shows. There's a station here, actually a couple stations. One used to air old game shows. It's called Game Show Network, but they air kind of more modern stuff now. The other one's called Buzzer, and they air a lot of the old game shows that I really am big on. Like I may be a 90s kid, but I appreciate the classic stuff in like the 70s and the 80s and the 90s.
Why do you think you are so captivated by game shows? Do you think?
I don't know. I would guess it's because number one, who doesn't love to play games?
Very true.
Number two, who doesn't want to win cash and beautiful prizes? Like, who wouldn't want to win like $100,000 in cash, or like a holiday somewhere in Spain or Antigua or something, or like a Mercedes Benz or something like that? I think what is captivating about game shows is that you get to see everyday people get rewarded for their knowledge, their luck, their sense of skill. And I think that's what makes, in my mind, game shows like one of the best genres in television.
What to you makes a good game show?
Well, it's got to have a good format.
Mhm.
It's got to have the perfect host. Like, you can have a good format, but if you don't have a good host to match, like if he doesn't have like the personality, or if he doesn't gel with the contestants well enough, like it's not going to work. You got to have good contestants. You got to have people who are bright, people who are, intelligent, people who have a personality, a sense of humor, and most importantly, you've got to have an audience. You got to captivate your audience with that particular blend. The combination of all of those, that's what makes game shows work.
So you watch a lot of game shows from the States. Do you take in a lot of game shows over from the
I
UK?
do.
I know Adam on a Tuesday on Twitch will often watch Supermarket Sweep and game shows from over here as well. What do you make of the game show scene in the UK?
I honestly, I love them. Obviously, two of the big shows in the United Kingdom made their way over here: Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and Weakest Link. I love watching Catchphrase. Catchphrase is a classic. You can't beat a Billy Bully. Bullseye, that's one of my favorites.
Yes, I'm so glad you said Bullseye.
Family Fortunes. Family Fortunes. Not much can be said about that. I especially love when a contestant gives a particularly inane answer, and Les is like, if it's up there, I'll give you the money myself. Or in some cases, if it's really out there, I'll give you the car myself.
What's a lovely little game show. I thought when it happened, I thought I'll tell you about it when I see you. So I went to a Halloween party the other day, and it was with my friend Alex and Adam, and it was in their new home, which they bought from their winnings when they played Family Fortune.
Oh, well, what do you know?
What do you know?
It's a small world, isn't it?
Yeah, she's been a bit of a diva a bit of a demon for being on game shows. She was on Family Fortune. She was on The Chase as well.
Holy moly.
Keeps popping up on game shows. Have you applied to do them?
I took the Jeopardy online test one time.
Okay.
I don't know if I passed or not, but considering they never got back to me, I don't think I passed.
Is there a reason why you think you're somewhat reluctant to to be a contestant and rather just watch it? There's no wrong answer there. I'm just curious whether it was
I
something
think
that
it's
was up to you to do, something you wanted to do.
I think it's because even though, you can sit at home, you can like lie in your bed in your underwear. You can watch these shows and you'd be seeing these contestants like stumble and like trip their way through the game, and I'm like, I can do better than this man or this woman or this person. And then you go up there, you got the cameras in front of you, you got the lights beaming down on you, you got people in the audience, you got about 10, 20 million people watching, and you completely blank out. Like, it's not easy. I know a few friends of mine who have been on game shows before. I have a couple of friends who went on Wheel of Fortune. They won a substantial sum. A couple of my friends went to a taping of Price is Right not too long ago. I don't know if they got called on down or not. Um, but like the immense pressure of like the cameras and the lights and everything, like you can just your mind can just go blank. Like now, like, and then people are like, "Oh, now I understand why they spaz out like that."
Because yeah, the pressure of being there when the lights are on you and everyone's looking at you, and all of a sudden everything you've ever known, including your own name, just falls out of your head.
Yeah, I much prefer watching them, and I much prefer hosting them myself. I do. Again, I apologize, Tom. I do a monthly thing in the Cultaholic Discord where I do game shows,
Don't need to
and
apologize for that, sir. We love that you do that.
we like everybody who joins in, because last month we did the chase, we did Sale of the Century, we did Family Feud or Fortunes over there, and Tic Tac Doe, and like everybody just had a blast. Like I enjoy channeling my inner Pat Sajak or Bob Barker or Wink Martindale or Les Dennis, Roy Walker. You know, I enjoy it.
Who is the ultimate game show host, apart from yourself, obviously? Who is the ultimate game show host, Hunter?
That's a tough one.
Because you
If
mentioned
I,
a couple of heavy hitters there: Pat Sajak, Les Dennis, Ladeny.
if I, that's a tough question, but I would have to go with Bill Cullen. He is the consummate professional. Like, you can put him on any format, any game show format at all, be it a quizzer like Blockbusters, a matching game like Three on a Match, or like a funny game like Child's Play. Like, you can stick him in any format, as terrible as it can be. He will make that so entertaining. He is the consummate professional. There's a reason why they call him Uncle Bill.
Yeah, there's a certain energy that you need for a game show, and you've got to have that person that can gravitate through all of them. So you think he's the one? He's the number one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. When you obviously your passion for game shows has bled over into Twitch, and we can find you on Twitch, Hunter Dillon 95. It's been 2 years. You became an affiliate. It was your 2-year affiliate anniversary, I think, back in September, I want to say.
That's right.
Which is a wonderful achievement to you. When you started out doing the Twitch stuff, what was your hopes for doing it? Because let's see, if it would have been 2 years ago, it would have been sort of post pandemic. It would have been starting out on something new. What were your hopes for joining Twitch?
Well, my hope was that I could share my love of board games and game shows and everything that I love with a crowd that hopefully would accept me for who I was, instead of, kind of brushing me off for who I wasn't. I've been at this for nearly 5 years now, and I've done so, like, I've had a potpourri of stuff. I've done board games, I've done game shows, I've done an e-fed for a short time, I've done hockey, but I feel like I found my calling when I do like the board games and the game shows. I used to do a series of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire on Twitch, and that was a blast. I think I had like $1 or $2 million winners during that whole time. Now I'm doing Deal or No Deal over there on Twitch on a bi-weekly basis on Sunday nights, and that is always like that's always an exciting game for me to host, is Deal or No Deal, because you never know when someone's gonna hit it big. Nobody's beaten the banker yet. Nobody has beaten the banker yet. I can almost hear him from here. He's cocky up there. He's happy that nobody's beat him yet.
I can't get over the difference in style between the UK version of Deal or No Deal and the American version of Deal or No Deal.
Yeah.
Like the US one seems far more glamorous and
Yes, over
high
the top.
budget, over the top. Whereas the UK one, it's like 20 boxes of Noel Edmonds on an old red phone. Like that's
Very
all it.
staid.
Yeah, that's it. And it's almost it feels very British, and it's just like the energy is so different. But the concept is a great concept. It's just been altered to an American audience. Do you have a preference on which one you prefer, the American one or the UK one? Obviously, they have
I
different pros and cons.
I really don't have a preference per se. I can even throw the Australian version in there as one of my
Oh,
favorites. They recently brought it back in Australia, and they brought the way they brought back the format. I commend the folks down there for doing that because they could have gone a completely different direction and they stuck with the tried and true. They just made a few cosmetic changes to keep up with the times. But the one version that I will not discuss with you, and no offense, because obviously it's no offense to you, but it is offense to the format, Deal or No Deal Island. I will not discuss that for any reason whatsoever.
is it
That
that
show is
bad?
an abomination.
Why is it so? I don't know enough about the Irish version of Deal or No Deal. Is it that bad?
Deal or No Deal Island. Think of it as Deal or No Deal meets Survivor.
Oh, see, you've sold it to me there. I'm quite intrigued. Does anyone die in it?
Thankfully, no.
Does anyone
but
get hurt in it?
no, thankfully. But the concept is so convoluted, it makes my mind melt.
It's when people start messing with a very simple concept and just overdo it. And then all of a sudden you've ruined something magic because you've tried to overthink it and overanalyze it and add bits where you don't need it. Don't add, subtract, to quote the birdcage when it comes to stuff like that. Oh, I'm intrigued to see it now. I'm intrigued to see it. You mentioned something a few minutes ago where you said like when you're doing the Twitch streams, people are getting to know you rather than uh, the person that they think you are.
Mm-hmm.
What did you mean by that?
Well, some people think I'm just a typical nerd who just sits on his bottom all day, just playing games and, watching TV and stuff. But I'm more than that because I always say when people raid me or they follow me for the first time, I am a game show fan, first and foremost. I'm a board game collector, but I'm also a mental health advocate because I suffer from mental problems myself. I have had a very rough childhood. I still suffer from the mental scars on a daily basis. I deal with stress, anxiety, and depression. I am on the autism spectrum. So, a mix of that and the fact that I want to make sure that people are treated as they ought to be treated. Like, I had a very rough childhood. I don't want to discuss it because I don't want to get too heavy on this program, but I took a look at my childhood and I told myself, I'm not going to let that happen to anybody else. Like, I have tried so hard and I feel like I've done a good job to maintain. And this, I hope I'm not, like inflating your ego a little bit, but I call you my spirit animal. And
Oh,
there's a
bless you.
reason for that. You have an a bottomless pit of positivity. You are a bundle of joy, and those are the qualities that I try to bring in people's lives. I always say that if I make one person, at least one person, smile or laugh with my positivity or my stupidity or just outright being myself, I feel like I've done my job.
That's a lovely way to look at it. That is, I'm thank you for the compliment. That means that does mean a lot. The one thing that I have learned, and I'm very open about mental health as well. Like I have my own issues going on. I'm lucky in the sense that I've got a good support network around me, and I think a lot of people, and I get why they think that. They go, "Oh, Tom's perma happy," and true story, I'm not. And sometimes I am sad and stressed. I am planning a wedding at the moment, and that has tested a lot of my resolve. But it happens to us all, and I think it's a really lovely place to come from when you want to make sure that other people are good. My advice that I would offer you, sir, is that you can't charge other people on an empty battery, i.e., you've got to look after you a bit in there as well. Because looking after others, and this is a mistake that not a mistake at all. Actually, it's not a mistake at all. It's a the way I always was for a long time was I would supplant looking inward at myself by looking after other people. And what I had to do, and it took my future wife to talk me around to doing this, to go, you've got to look after you, and then you can look after other people better. And that's advice I would always offer to you. And because you do very much have this positivity yourself, and I do see it, and there's an energy to you, and I hear it, and I love it. And it's just a case of making sure that you look after you as well. See what I'm saying?
Yes, I certainly do.
Because because you can't charge others on an empty battery. Um, but you talked about your childhood a bit there, and obviously we don't want to go into that if you don't want to go into that. But you also mentioned that you were on the spectrum as well. Was that something that you discovered later in life? Because I found that people around sort of our age, 30s and 40s, are discovering much later on that they are on the autism spectrum or they have ADHD. We're finding out quite late. When did you find out?
It was at a very early age. I think I was around maybe 2 or 3 when I was diagnosed with it. And mom fondly remembers this. She always says, and I can believe it because obviously if mom says it, it's got to be true, that at a very early age, I could start reading before I started talking. Like I could take a newspaper and turn it upside down and I could still read it as if it was right side up. I don't know how I did it. It just happened. And then some people consider it like a sort of like a hindrance. I consider it as more of a leg up on stuff because I can do things and learn things a lot quicker than other people can. And we were going back to our discussion on game shows. There's a chaser on the chase, the governess, Ann Haggerty. She's on the spectrum. I freaking love her for the fact that she's open about it. She and I share a lot of the same traits. And I know being on the spectrum can be quite scary for a lot of people, but for me, all you got to do, just think of it as this: you've got an advantage over everybody else. You can do things more quickly and a lot better than other people can. You just got to put your effort into it. You got to put the effort in.
It's a superpower in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It's a cliche, I think, gets rolled out, but it really is. Because I only speak from my good lady, who's been very open, and she's spoken on BBC Newcastle about getting a late diagnosis of ADHD, and how that kind of sort of blew her mind and made a lot of stuff make more sense. And that in itself is a superpower because when she's hyper focused on something, oh my God, the amount of shit that gets done, it's unbelievable. Like the power there is, and she can throw herself into stuff in a way that nobody else can. And you mentioned there about even stuff like reading the paper upside down and this unwavering passion for game shows and all this stuff comes kind of partly through that. And it's a case of, like you say, you've got neurotypical and neurospicy. That's the term we use in our house. It's neurospicy. And a lot of the time the struggle comes from being neurospicy in a world that's built for neurotypical. And it's finding ways around it and finding new ways to come at things. And I think that's something that you've been doing in the way that you approach stuff. You can, would that be a fair statement?
Yeah, that I would say so. Like I said, autism can be a challenge at times. It's never easy. I can freely admit it's never easy, but it there are challenges, there are cons, but there are a lot of pros, and the pros again can outweigh the cons.
You're surrounded by a good community of people, particularly within the cultaholic world, aren't you, as well?
Indeed, indeed. Adam and Andrew and everybody on the mod team, they've welcomed me with open arms. They bent over backwards to make myself feel at home, and they've done a hell of a job.
And going forward, we just passed your 2 year anniversary as an affiliate on Twitch. What what would you like to do from here? Like, as we're hitting our 30th year, sir, what are our goals? What are our aspirations going forward?
Well, I kind of want to travel more. I mean, I've only been out of the state one time, and that was when I turned 25 and we went on a bowling trip. But that was the one and only time. I love to travel a lot more. I'd like to get away and kind of see the USA, not necessarily in a Chevrolet, but I'd love to, kind of do more charitable work if I can, because I did a series of fundraising streams for the Trevor Project, which is another charity which is near and dear to my heart, because I am an LGBTQ ally, and I kind of want to do more charitable work. I also want to I kind of want to, you know, if if funds and everything allows me to down the line, I would really love to help out some friends who are in need, and maybe one day do a meetup, because that would be just incredible.
I think it speaks to you as a person that when we talk about the stuff that you would like to do going forward, at the front and center, they are charity work and support other people. I think that says a lot.
Yeah,
That's your go-to. Hey, let's do your third and final match, shall we,
let's
Hunter?
yeah, let's do it. I
We've been on a magical mystery tour today. Let's do your
indeed,
third one.
and
What?
this one is probably not going to be much of a surprise to anybody. Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes in a Bloodline Rules match at WrestleMania 40.
Oh, a modern one for your 30 years. So,
Mhm.
I mean, so this was a great match, but why does it hit so different for you?
Well, we talked before earlier in the show with the Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels match about storytelling in wrestling.
Mhm.
This, in my mind, you talk about storytelling and we have like beginnings and endings. This can be considered the ultimate fairy tale ending. That match at WrestleMania 39, when and Adam and Andrew were doing the reactions during that whole thing, and we all thought Cody Rhodes was going to beat Roman Reigns. Oh no, it was Adam, and I think Frazier was doing the reactions that year. Cody was going to beat. We all thought he was going to do it. We all thought he was going to beat Roman Reigns. He didn't, and this set this year-long angle in motion. The Royal Rumble win in this past January, then Cody giving his spot to The Rock, which I thought was absolutely just god awful, atrocious. And then the ensuing We Want Cody campaign on social media, which I was a part of. I'm not going to lie, I was a part of that whole We Want Cody movement. The total disrespect between the two of them and their families at that press conference, the slap heard around the world, and then finally that magic moment in night two. You could not have written a better ending if you tried.
This is the one thing I really liked about this new era in WWE is that there is room for storytelling. Like there is energy in the storytelling, and you don't feel like stories are being picked up and just dropped for no reason. Like there's
Exactly.
long-term planning and long-term execution. Gives us a night like WrestleMania 41 night 2 where yeah, it was quite predictable that once everything had played out that Cody would leave as the champion. It did feel very but just because it's a predictable move doesn't mean it's the wrong move.
Exactly. If you plan it out correctly, if you flesh out the story and the match makes sense, like even the most predictable of outcomes can still be like, oh my God, this was an amazing match. And this was a prime example. The bloodline coming in, seemingly attempting to help Roman duplicate his success from a year prior, only for Jey Uso, and then John Cena, then Seth Rollins, and then finally The Undertaker coming in to even the odds. And when Cody got that 3 count, like the pop was deafening. It was electric.
Mhm.
Samantha Irvin's call at the end, and God bless her for doing, for going out the way she wants to do and continuing on in her career. Samantha's call at the end, and then the ensuing celebration that followed, that was the icing on the cake for me. Inject that electricity into my veins. Like all day, day.
Oh, it was a, do you know what? A really exciting moment. I wonder how you will, what story you can tell to replicate that this year, because it feels like, in terms of what we'll get for 41 this year, like it feels like it's the beginning of the journey down the mountain for Cody at 41. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like,
You're at
I
the
mean,
top. There's only one way to go now.
yeah, I'm sure he's going to make it to 41 as champion. It's just a matter of if he's going to walk out as champion by the end, because
Mm.
you've got Roman, I'm assuming, seemingly back hot on his tail. You've got The Rock, who's, he's got, he set the target on Cody's back. I don't know how it's going to play out, but I just have a feeling that however it turns out, I'm sure no matter how predictable it's going to be, it's going to completely blow the roof off
It's
when it gets there.
It's going to be an adventure when we get there. And with that, your time as a castaway on Cultaholic Island, Hunter, starts to wrap up. It's been lovely to have you with us today. And I'd like to end on something a little bit philosophical, a little bit deep, where we take you in a time machine, where we go back to those younger years. As you're hitting 30 now. 30s are a really good decade, by the way. Enjoy them all. From somebody who's just begun his 40s, enjoy your 30s, because they fly by.
Exactly.
But we go back and we look at a younger version of Hunter, and if you could offer some advice to the younger version of you that they could take forward, what advice would that be? Based with all the knowledge that you have now, what advice would that be?
You're going to make it, kid. Like, don't let anybody bring you down. Don't let anybody tell you you're a piece of crap, you're a piece of trash, you're a piece of scum. You're better than that. You are going to do great things for a lot of people. You're going to make a name for yourself. You're going to help a lot of people. You're going to spread a lot of positivity and cheer around. And damn it, you are going to do a darn fine job at it in the process.
Genuinely, as on behalf of the entire extended Cultaholic multiverse, thank you, Hunter, for continuing to do that. Genuinely, thank you for doing that. I
You're
think
very welcome.
it's what in the IWC can be a bit of a shithole. It can be, and what makes me feel better about it is there are people like yourself in amongst it, doing good things and looking after people. And long may that remain, as long as you look after yourself and continue to look after other people. Hunter, plug away anything that you want to plug. This is your bit before we cast you off the island. Plug away what you'd like to plug, sir.
Well, you can catch me on Twitch every Sunday night around 11 o'clock Eastern time. That's around 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 a.m. over there in the UK in Newcastle. I predominantly stream game shows and board game video games with the occasional sports game thrown in. Every 2 weeks, I do Deal or No Deal interactive with the chat. People in the chat can come into the Discord. They can play the game and try to beat the banker, who so far has been undefeated. Someone's got to take him down. You can catch me on YouTube and all of the socials, Twitter. I refuse to call it X,
Yes, sir.
Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Hunter Dillon 95. And yeah, that's about it.
Whatever you do, when you go in to see Hunter, ask him about Deal or No Deal Island, because he is a big fan and he will happily talk to you all about it.
That was such a fantastic interview. My thanks, my special shout out as well to Larry Raab, who gifted me the episode. You are an absolute gem of a person. My thanks and total gratitude to the Cultaholic staff and crew for putting it all together. They really bent over backwards to make me feel welcome and comfortable in their world, and they did a wonderful job, as I said, of doing so. And of course, an extra special shout out to the one and only Tom Campbell, who is a consummate professional. What you see on screen is exactly what you get when you talk to him. He is an absolute gem and a national treasure, and he should be protected at all times. Follow Tom Campbell on social media. Follow Cultaholic on social media. I'll post links down in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the content, leave a subscribe, leave a sub down there below, leave a like, leave a comment, and follow me for more stuff on Twitch on Sunday nights. I'll see you again real soon.